So here we are with all the cleaned up components of the flywheel assembly. We stripped it all down so we could inspect all the components individually. We've got flywheel itself on the right here, and then we've got ring gear, the clutch plate, and the various fasteners, and you can see a new gearbox input shaft support bearing. So what we'll do now is we'll get all of this put back together again. So the first thing we're going to do is put the clutch plate back in. So we're going to drop the ring gear back on. This is the original ring gear, and you can see it's got a little bit of damage from where it was engaged with the starter motor over the years. So we're going to put this back on the other way round, so it's using the undamaged face for engagement. So now we've loosely put all the starter ring gear bolts in, we now need to torque them up. As I said in the last video, my torque wrench is in Newton meters, so these need to be done to 39.5 Newton meters. I'll put bananas up on the screen. So we'll get on tightening these up. So that's those all done up. So we'll now torque up the bolts for the clutch plate. So we've turned the flywheel over to do up the bolts that secure the clutch plate to the flywheel. We'll get the rest of them in, and then we need to torque them up, which is to 35.6 Newton meters. So that's all the clutch plate bolts torqued up and the lock tabs knocked over. So we'll turn the flywheel back over and fit the input shaft bearing. There we go. So that's now the flywheel assembly ready to go back on the engine. So the first thing we need to do before we can fit the flywheel is check that the crank is in the right position for number 1 being at TDC. So we'll check that first, which it currently isn't, so we need to turn the crank over a bit. So we've now turned the crank over to the number 1 TDC position. So we now know that that mark on the flywheel needs to be upwards. So here are all the timing marks on the flywheel. You can see we've got the TDC mark for number 1 and 6 on the right hand side. And then over on the left we've got the injection mark for 1 and 6. Also you can see here that the engine number is stamped on it, and this is the original flywheel for this engine. So we can now lift the flywheel on with that TDC mark upwards. There we go, flywheel back on its studs. So now I'll get the nuts on and get them torqued up. So this is now 169.5 Newton meters. Again, put bananas on the screen in a minute, and we'll just get this all torqued up. There we go, all done. So with the flywheel all refitted, to make it a bit easier to work on, we're now going to put the engine back in its cradle before we fit the cylinder block. So we have the crankcase back in its cradle. So the next job we're going to do is to refit the cylinder block. Now, as the cylinder block has been skimmed, it may need to come on and off a couple of times depending on the piston crown to deck height. So we'll get the block back on and then measure up the piston heights. So with the cylinder block now dropped back onto the crankcase, we now need to bolt it down, and then we can start putting the piston and con rod assemblies in so we can check the piston heights. So with the block all nipped down, that's now ready to start doing the piston to deck height measurements. So we'll get all the pistons fitted to the con rods and start fitting them in. So here we have all the con rods, big end bearings and new pistons. The pistons are the latest 15:1 compression ratio type. If you've watched the earlier videos, you'll know that this engine had the original lower compression pistons, but also they were quite badly worn. So we've got all the bits ready. We'll put the pistons onto the con rods and then get number 1 cylinder in first and see if we're looking close on the piston height measurement. So we now have cylinder 1's piston and connecting rod in. So we'll check the piston height. Now, to do this, we will measure the depth of the piston below the deck of the block. You then add on the thickness of the head gasket, which is stated in the manual as 14 thousandths of an inch. And those two together need to fall in a range which is given in the menu, and I'll put that up on the bottom of the screen. As long as these all measure within that tolerance, we're good to go and can carry on with the assembly of the engine. So the measurement on cylinder 1 is 19 thousandths of an inch. So with the 14 thou of head gasket added to that, that gives us 33 thousandths of an inch. That pretty much falls smack in the middle of the 25 thou to 43 thou range. So cylinder 1 is good. We will get the rest of the pistons in and check all of those. And if they're all okay, we can carry on with reassembly. So we now have all the pistons reinstalled in the engine. We've checked all of the heights, and across all 6 there's 2 thousandths of an inch variation, and they're all pretty much in the middle of the range. So we are good to carry on with assembly. So our next job is to get the sump ready to go back on, refit that, and then we will tape up the engine as it is at the moment, ready for painting. So with the sump now cleaned, we'll get all of the gauze back in, and then it'll be ready for paint before refitting to the engine. All cleaned up. So with all the gauzes back in the sump, we've now turned it over and taped it up ready. So we're going to etch prime this, then undercoat it, then top coat paint it, so it's fully painted when we refit it to the engine. So we now have the sump underneath the engine and pulled up into place. Currently held up with ratchet straps, so we will get the rest of the fasteners in and get that tightened up, and then after that get the engine taped up ready for painting the rest of the crankcase and cylinder block. So to seal the bottom end up ready for paint, now that the sump is all bolted on, we need to fit the crankshaft end bearing. There's a roller bearing that fits on the end of the crank here, and then the end cover. Once we've done that, we need to put a couple of bungs in the bottom of the sump, and then the rest of it is taping up ready for paint. So before we can fit the cover, we need to fit this bearing, inner bearing portion. So we'll get this onto the shaft first. I'm going to use a brass drift so we don't damage the bearing. So the next job is there's to fit an oil throwing disc that goes on here, then the cover. So that disc is just to keep as much oil as possible away from the groove that's in the end cover, because as I said in an earlier video for the crankshaft, there is no forward oil seal as such, there is a scroll machined in the end cover. So you can just see the scroll in here, and that is to pull oil back into the engine. So we'll now fit this cover. We've got some sealant on the back of it, so we'll nip it on, let that cure a bit, and then tighten it up. So that's it all nipped on. We'll leave it about 10 minutes to start to set, and then we'll tighten it up. So with the sump and front cover on, the next job is to get everything taped up ready for paint. So that's us all taped up ready for paint. I got asked the other day why we're painting it without the cylinder heads fitted. That is because where there are two cylinder heads, it's very difficult to get a decent layer of paint on the ends of the two cylinder heads where they butt up next to each other. So we prefer to paint them off the engine so that they've got a good coating of paint, so you don't end up with rust streaking down between the two cylinder heads. So we'll get on with painting this engine. So that's all we've got time for on this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. In the next video we'll start getting a lot of the ancillary components bolted back onto the engine. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.